me and him, an actual Eminem.
But your people and his people.
Yeah, he pulled a empty pistol on one of our boys.
Wait, Eminem pulled an empty pistol
on one of our boys.
Really?
Yeah.
We around Dr. Dre, so it's like, yo, we gotta do what we gotta do.
So what happened? He lights the cigar and then
he just lights the cigar, and it's the shit about Suge. I was bugging because I seen this is when I knew Eminem was real. He's like, I don't give a man. This is when I knew. I'm like, damn, Eminem is a real. These niggas 50 outside. What's up? And then Suge just walked away. The Mexican looked kind of confused, like they didn't know what was going on. Eminem came outside 100%. And Eminem was like, yo, I don't give a man.
He not like fuck the old Beanie Siegel, you know what I'm saying? He ain't walking around with the strap ready to up it and just pop shit. But he from Detroit. He from Detroit, man. He's from 8 Mile, bro. And I don't know, 20, 30 minutes ago, we talked about all his. So yeah, of course, M was ready to go. He was ready to go.
Yeah, he reached out. He was getting extorted by some Crips.
Paul Rosenberg was, or
Eminem was getting extorted by some Crips.
Meaning that they're saying you can't come out here unless you pay us, or...
Yeah, maybe like he was paying them money and
just
like getting bullied. I don't know the exact details. Yeah, so, yeah, if you hear what he says, you know, he's like 40, 50 Samoans. He throws lyrics out, so man. It's on, it's called, I think it's on West Coast Nostra. It's all Hip Hop is in the State of 911. And it's Booya Tribe featuring Eminem and Be Real.
Now, we're all used to Eminem talking crazy on the track. And if he can beef with his mama, then anybody can get touched. From MGK to Benzino, a lot of rappers over the years found this out the hard way. But Eminem isn't all about the talk. I mean, the man was outfitted for the streets more than most people give him credit for. I mean, from managing to scare off the Crips to confronting Suge Knight. It's time to break it all down. Let's go. When most people think about Eminem being tough, they think about those key incidents that I just mentioned. But what many people may not know about M, your boy, he really about that life. He grew up on the mean streets of Detroit, up on the 8 Mile, where he struggled to get by. He met the legendary Proof way back when they were kids, and he helped put him on to a whole lot of things. Even as part of Proof's D12, Eminem still needed to struggle to make a name for himself. I mean, winning multiple rap battles and contests until one day his CD landed in the hands of Dr. Dre, who signed him. M's struggles of growing up on the street is precisely what earned him that raw sound that everybody had grown to love Eminem for.
What is it about you that made make your pictures so vivid?
Maybe like what I went through, like just growing up, or what I'm still going through, and maybe like, not maybe, I feel like I went through a lot of things, abnormal situations and abnormal behaviors, like a lot of rappers and rapettes haven't gone through, you know? I really feel like that. I really feel like a lot of my stuff is like reality, and I just like put a twist on it, that's all.
While Eminem himself wasn't dealing in the streets, a good number of his fellow D12 members were. Although Eminem did get into trouble with ICP, the Insane Clown Posse, formerly known as the Inner City Posse, were local Detroit icons with a rabid fan base of juggalos. They were known for doing everything from professional wrestling to hip-hop music, and Eminem was a fan. You might not have guessed it considering what he does next. In 1997, Eminem dropped his Slim Shady EP and wanted to organize a semi-high profile release party to create buzz. So when he got to handing out flyers for the event, he included some names on the back that weren't a sure deal. Before even getting to meet ICP at all, Eminem had them pinned down as a maybe on his flyer. He finally went up to them at St. Andrew's Hall, handed them a flyer as a form of invitation, but Violent J turned it down because he felt disrespected. And just like that, Eminem found himself having serious beef with the ICP. Violent J turned it down because he felt disrespected.
In 1997 or maybe 1998, we walked into St. Andrew's Hall and he came up to us with a flyer and he said, "What's up?" He came up to us and he had a kid with him or whatever and he was like, "What's up?" You know? And I was like, "What's up?" And he was like, "I'm Eminem." And he gave me a flyer and it said Eminem record release party or some kind of party for his EP or something, you know what I mean? I don't know what it was. And then it said on the flyer, it said special guests in the house, and it said ICP, and then underneath it said maybe, and it said Esham, maybe. And then I looked at it and I had my name and I said, "How you gonna put ICP on this flyer when, you know what I'm saying, when you don't even know if we're gonna be there?" And then put maybe like that. And then he said, "Well, I'm asking you now, you know what I'm saying, you wanna come show up?" And I was like, "Hell no, man, what the f?" Like, man, don't be putting our name on it. And I walked away and he was just like, you know, I guess he took it as a diss.
And just like that, Eminem found himself having serious beef with the ICP. He did diss tracks about them and even chased them out the club alongside other D12 members using paintballs. Things got more intense as the years went by. In 1999, after M got signed to Dr. Dre and released his first and incredibly successful LP, he was still going back and forth with ICP. D12 and street guys associated with ICP would regularly get into it whenever they saw each other on the streets. And Eminem himself would stoke the fires by stating on the radio show that ICP weren't real rappers and don't actually come from Detroit. This would all culminate in 2002 when a man named Douglas, who was affiliated to the ICP, was mocking M and his crew outside of his car. Eminem got pissed, stepped out of the car, picked up his pistol, which had fallen from his waist, and aimed it at him. Allegedly, the gun had no bullets in it, but this was still a crazy move to pull.
Me and him, an actual Eminem.
But your
Never.
people and his people.
Yeah, he pulled a fucking empty pistol on one of our boys. You
Wait,
know what I'm saying?
Eminem pulled an empty pistol
on one of our boys.
Really?
Yeah.
It was a particularly bad move for Slim Shady because just a couple of days prior, he had gotten into a situation involving guns. He caught his then wife, Kim, cheating on him with the bouncer at a club. Eminem walked up to them as they were kissing, pulled the gun on him, before then pistol whipping the bouncer and getting away. Eminem ended up getting charged for carrying a concealed weapon and brandizing a weapon in the public area. He got sentenced to a 1-year probation, and that was the end of it. On May 21st, 1999, in Belle Isle, Detroit, Bugs, an associated member of D12, was gunned down in the middle of the street after getting into a little skirmish with the guy. Bugs was only 21 when he died, and according to M and D12, it was because the dude he was fighting got mad that Bugs was killing him in a face-to-face rap battle. Eminem and Proof did a concert 2 days later in Detroit and called for a moment of silence for Bugs. That would be the first of several tributes they did for Bugs in the following years, including the Like Toy Soldier song and music video where Proof himself would play the role of a dying Bugs, unwittingly foreshadowing his own untimely death in 2006. Proof was an OG himself. Not only was he Eminem's #1 backup and partner for everything, but he was also crazy, fearless, and loyal to a fault. They might not share the same blood, but they were undoubtedly brothers. Proof wasn't just a rapper, he was a street legend in Detroit. He had ties to multiple figures in the underground scene, some of whom had deep connections to Detroit's most notorious street crews. In Detroit, that respect meant everything. Proof was the one who made the phone calls to squash the beef between Eminem and ICP by organizing a little get-together where they played basketball and everything. Eminem's circle indeed wasn't bulletproof. Over the years, multiple people connected to him were shot, killed, or arrested. Which brings us to the infamous face-off with Suge Knight. Now, Suge was still mad that Dre slipped through his fingers to go form his own label. At this point, Dre had signed Eminem, M had signed 50 Cent, and 50 had signed G-Unit, and they were all crazy successful. Suge took a look at that and wanted his slice of the pie, since Dre was his former partner. So Suge Knight turned up at the LA studios where they were shooting the music video for Fifth's smash hit In the Club. Suge showed up with a bunch of Bloods and Mexican street dudes to intimidate them, especially Dre. It was a big video shoot and everybody was there. Dre, M, Proof, 50, G-Unit, and so on. So when Suge turned up with his mini army, 50's crew ran outside to confront them head on. Eminem, contrary to what many folks might expect, was front and center of all that, shouting and letting Suge know they ain't moving.
We around Dr. Dre, so it's like, yo, we gotta do what we gotta do.
So what happened? He lights a cigar and then
he just lights the cigar, and it's the shit about Suge. I was bugging because I seen this is when I knew Eminem was real. He's like, I don't give a man. This is when I knew. I'm like, damn, Eminem is a real. He thinks 50 outside. What's up? And then Suge just walked away. The Mexican looked kind of confused, like they didn't know what was going on. Eminem came outside 100%. And Eminem was like, yo, I don't give a man.
He not like fuck the old Beanie Siegel, you know what I'm saying? He ain't walking around with the strap ready to up it and just pop shit. But he from Detroit. He from Detroit, man. He's from 8 Mile, bro. And I don't know, 20, 30 minutes ago, we talked about all his. So yeah, of course, M was ready to go. He was ready to go.
Tony Yayo even got a story about how one time they were in a party and Proof yelled out at Suge Knight, accusing him of offing Tupac.
Cause you remember, it's documented. Proof told Suge, yo, you killed Tupac in the middle of a party. Remember, them Detroit are kind of crazy, bro. Them 7, 8 miles, them always been crazy. Rest in peace to Proof. Yeah, but Proof told that Suge.
In a party.
Proof told Suge in a party, you killed Tupac. You could ask anybody. Proof was a wild boy. Rest in peace to Proof.
Proof's murder in 2006 was a turning point. He was killed in a club shooting after an argument turned violent with a veteran down at a club on 8 Mile Road in Detroit. Proof routinely went back to his hood to kick it in his free time, and that eventually got him killed. Eminem was absolutely devastated by Proof's death, and some people even think he hasn't been the same man since up until this very day. But losing Proof didn't mean M was cut off from the streets. By the time Eminem blew up, he had built relationships with some of Detroit's most feared figures. One of the biggest was Demetrius Big Meech Flannery, the leader of the Black Mafia family. BMF was not just a street gang, they were a multi-million-dollar drug empire. They ran Atlanta, Detroit, and several other cities, moving thousands of kilos of cocaine every month. The more interesting thing is, several rappers who worked with Eminem, including Booya Tribe and Trick, were directly connected to BMF. But the deepest Eminem ever rolled with the gang himself was when he reached out to them. M was getting extorted on the West Coast by the LA Crips, who were requiring him to check in every time M pulled up. Eminem eventually got sick of it and reached out to the Booya Tribe, Tribe. The LA-based Samoan gang are not to be messed with, and they got their own issues with the Crips. So when M reached out to them, the Crips backed off. In exchange for the protection, M agreed to lay down a track with the Booya Tribe and Be Real called 911. And that was the last we heard about any street troubles for Eminem.
Yeah, he reached out. He was getting extorted by some Crips.
Who Paul Rosenberg was, or
Eminem was getting extorted by some Crips.
Meaning that they're saying you can't come out here unless you pay us, or...
Yeah, maybe like he was paying them money and just like getting bullied. I don't know the exact details, but yeah, so I don't know the exact details, but I do know that a few phone calls were made And then that's how the feature came about, because they were like, anything in return, what do you want? And they was like, I want a feature from M, you know what I'm saying? So M, if you hear what he says, you know, he's like 40, 50 Samoans. He throws the lyrics out, so man.
What song is that?
It's on it's called, I think it's on West Coast Nostra. It's all Hip Hop is in the State of 911. And it's Booya Tribe featuring Eminem and Be Real.
The thing about Slim Shady that people tend to forget is that dark persona comes from his experiences growing up. He may not be a street dude himself, but ain't nothing a street dude has seen that he hasn't. He comes from real struggle growing up in a broken family, and he's literally had friends die in the streets. And we all know, he stays strapped up. And Eminem's the last guy you want to be f***ing around with. So, let us know what you think about this story. Comment, like, and share. All right? Until next time, peace and love.